We'll go in live in probably 2 minutes.
Sure, I'm ready.
Wait, this toy store.
A very good afternoon to everyone who's here today. Welcome to Kuala Lumpur and Selangor Indian Chamber of Commerce next Zoom series, which titled today IP Strategies for the COVID-19 period. Will be powered by KASS International Sdn Bhd with our guest speaker, Ms. Geeta Kandia, who's here with us today. And we have a very good session scheduled today for everyone's attention. And this is going to be a very interactive and very informative session where we are going to share the niche area of the business where each and every SMEs, startups, micro businesses, as well as those who are intending to come into business should adapt in their journey towards the entrepreneurship. IP, or it's an abbreviation of intellectual property. It's one of the main essential thing in your business that needs to be put in your important list because it protects and safeguards your business from various competitiveness that is today in a digitalized world. So we have brought in an expert today from KASS International Sdn Bhd to give us an exposure about the intellectual property strategies for this period, especially the COVID-19 period, that should be adapted by the entrepreneurs. Kuala Lumpur and Selangor Indian Chamber of Commerce this year has focused on digitalization programs, which is giving attention to various digitalization effort that we have embarked on. And intellectual property is one of the areas, as well as trademark program, which is also scheduled next year. Without further ado, before we start the program today, we would like to have an opening speech by our esteemed Management Council member, who's also the advisor for the tourism industry in KLSICCI, Yang Berbahagia Dato T. Tanggavelu, to give his short address, opening address, before we resume the program. I would like to invite Dato T. Tanggavelu. Dato.
A very good afternoon to all of you and to our beloved President Yang Bahagia Dato R. Ramanathan, as well as executive committee members, council members, and exclusively the speaker of the day, Ms. Geeta Kandia, Director KASS International Sdn Bhd, and to our dear participants, I am Tanggavelu, the Management Council member, as Nivas said, also the advisor for tourism industry, KLSICCI. Would like to thank you for the opportunity given to enlighten KLSICCI. Kuala Lumpur and Selangor Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry acts as safeguards Malaysian Indian community in varied business needs and matters of urgent fast concern. Our vision is to be foremost trade and commerce center business, plus premier advocate for state-of-the-art commerce and industry-focused initiatives. We have proactively undertaken business-friendly and investor-friendly initiatives via seminars, training programs, conferences, industry-based events, including organizing international trade and commerce delegations, among many others. We have kickstarted this year with a number of programs in collaboration with various agencies and individuals comprising the KUN, AKPK, CGC, SJPP, Perkeso, DBKL, investors, motivators, CIDB, and HRDF. We are aggressively planning for more beneficial programs such as these in the near coming future, kindly follow us in Facebook for future updates and past program videos. Today's title, IP Strategies for the COVID IP period. As a layman, intellectual property means it is something like creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs, and symbols. For example, for an Indian movie, a music director, Ilayaraja, he will have his IP. Lyrics writer, Vairamuthu will have his IP. Singer SP Balau, the late SP Bala will have. Overall, the producer holds the IP, the copyright practically. So why is it important? Protection is critical to fostering innovation. Without protection of ideas, businesses, and individuals will not reap the full benefits. Somebody is creating and somebody is benefiting. It is somebody stealing your product. Simple as that. And today we are strongly encouraged to attend the whole session until the end and hope this IP strategies for COVID-19 program brings you great insight with the great speaker, Geeta Kandeya. My best wishes for today's program and for more upcoming programs in future by KLSICCI. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Dato. Thank you for the wonderful opening. And I would like to also welcome here today our Vice President, Dr. Namamani, as well as our other council members, if there is any. And also, do we have our Deputy President? No, okay. And okay, they will come in shortly. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, just let me give a brief overview about the respected speaker here today. Ms. Geeta is the director of KASS International Sdn Bhd, a well-established intellectual property firm in Malaysia. She joined KASS in 2006 and has been instrumental in growing the firm from a 7-man located in country to a 45-man firm. In presence, 6 countries. In 2007, she trained under the European trademark attorneys at a reputable IP firm in France. Well, Ms. Geeta, your resume is pretty long and pretty credential. So I believe your delivery today will really speaks for itself. And but I have to highlight something that KLSICCI is working with credible and also respectable partners like KASS International to ensure that our startups or SMEs or micro business owners safeguard and protect their business. So this is our first step collaboration today towards many more successful journey ahead. And I urge all the participants here and also all those viewers later to take note on what are the most important key areas in IP and also trademarking in your business. There's always 5 W's and 1 H: what, why, who, where, and when, and how. So how 5 W's and 1 H in IP today will be addressed by Ms. Geeta. And after 45 minutes presentation, we'll have a very interactive Q&A session. And we hope all the Q&As shall be held till the last, and then we will address it. So let's welcome Ms. Geeta Kandeya to take over the session.
Thank you so much, Niwaz. So firstly, I would like to thank KLSICCI for giving me this opportunity to even speak to all of you established gentlemen and ladies in the room. Actually, I should say ladies and gentlemen, ladies first. Thank you for the introduction, Datuk Tangga Velu as well. And also hi to VP Ms. Nawaramani and the rest. So I feel really honored to be speaking to KLSICCI. And let me share my screen. Just give me a second here. So I feel really honored. I've spoken for many chambers of commerce, and this is my first time after 16 years of being in the IP field and speaking not just in Malaysia but in many countries, to be invited to KLSICCI and to KL and Selangor Indian entrepreneurs looking at intellectual property. It's very exciting for me because it means that we are actually getting to another level where we create our own intellectual property rights. Very often we use other people's intellectual property rights legally. We pay them fees, licensing fees, but where we come to developing your own intellectual property rights, the profit margins are better. There is a stronger foothold in the marketplace, and I'll explain a bit more. I am very passionate about intellectual property rights, and I'll explain how IP rights can help businesses, and how in this time, right, during COVID times, actually there are many strategies that you can put in place. Introduction was given to KASS. So KASS was started by Mr. Kandia, my father, 22 years ago, but he comes from vast experience in IP. He was with Shen and Delamo and Leong and Kandaya, and he won cases in court. He's known to the go-to person when you want to succeed in court regarding to intellectual property cases. I studied in the UK and was there for 4 years, and I loved intellectual property rights. So for me, it was great to come back and work with him because I'm passionate about this. I don't do it just because, oh, so happened my dad does it. No, I enjoy this area of law very much because it's very relevant to businesses. And in line with that, I also do franchise advice. That's how I know Mr. Sham here. And I also do business coaching. So I coach businesses on how to take themselves to another level, from not just business strategies, look at business strategies, look at IP strategies. We are in 6 countries at the moment. We're in Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Singapore. And the team, we have 45 people in the team. So we do talks like this. We do a lot of human resource and IP talks, awareness talks. A lot of companies are not aware. Earlier Dato was saying that intellectual property is creations of the mind, and some of us might have it, right? I honestly think all of you tuning in today have it. And it doesn't even matter if you are an employee, right? Whenever you create something that is reducing what you're thinking into paper, into slides, you have intellectual property rights. As an employee, you might not own it because it might transfer to the employer, right? Because the employer is paying you a salary, but you still have created that intellectual property right. So all of us actually have intellectual property rights. Okay, so we help on the business reputation and goodwill, which is the brands, taglines, and so on. Rights concerned with intellectual creations, technology. When you create technology, I guess Mr. Nivas was saying that there's a lot of startups. KLSICCI is now looking at helping 50 startups. So startups usually have technology. It's either software or hardware that they're looking at putting into the marketplace. And then we look at how do you use this intellectual property rights? Can you make money from it? I mean, there's no point spending money on registering your trademark, spending money on registering your patents for your invention when you don't maximize the money that you can get from it, And that's what I'll be talking about today. A bit more about the firm. So we are one of the leading IP firms in Malaysia, and we've got a lot of accolades, not from Malaysian companies, but these are European companies that value us because of the quality of the delivery of work and also the team that we train, and some of the awards that we won. So these are some of our testimonials that clients have given us, but I can share the slides with you. All right, so today, what are you going to learn? I'm very excited to share with you what is intellectual property rights very quickly. How can intellectual property make you money? How should you buy brands or technology at times like this, during COVID times or pandemic? If you have intellectual property already, what should you do? So first things first, why IP is vital. What is intellectual property? Easiest way to say it is it's creations of the mind reduced to substance. That's why it's called intellectual property. It's property of the mind, intellectual being the mind, right? So it's anything the mind creates. These are what you see before you is examples of 2 types of products. First is the phone that has multiple intellectual property rights. The shape of the phone is protected by industrial design rights. When I say protected, it means that the person who's registered these rights has 25 years to stop someone else from copying that design. Then you have the brand. Here's Apple phone. So you've got a trademark, Apple protected. Then you've got patents. The various technology in one mobile phone is protected by patents. And then you have copyright, which is the artistic work, the user interface. So that's protected by copyright. That's for the phone. Now let's look at the oil, something that you see in the kitchen, completely different from technology, right? So this cooking oil is extracted from palm oil. So the way the oil is extracted, a special way where there's more yield from that palm oil fruit is protected through patent rights. Then you've got Caratino. This company is actually from Johor, and they protect the name Caratino as their brand. They export to many countries now. Then copyright is in the labeling around the bottle, and industrial design is the shape of the bottle. So patents last for 20 years, and after 20 years, it's donation to the public, right? That means anything that anyone creates, you have 20 years to exploit and do amazing marketing and premium pricing, licensing, all of that. You have so many rights as an intellectual property owner, but after 20 years, it's out there for the public to use. Now, y'all might be wondering, why? Why is that so? When you do so much of research, you create all this technology, why do I only have 20 years? You want to pass it on to your second generation or your third generation. The reason the law is such is because the law encourages, in fact, I think Dato earlier talked about it, it encourages innovation. Intellectual property law encourages innovation. The law gives 20 years because they want new products to be generated. So people will understand the existing technology and constantly improve to obtain exclusive rights. Can you see? It's called evergreening, and that's why you can see there's always improvement upon improvement in technology. So that's the reason behind that. So for this cooking oil, you have the brand, you have the patent, you have the industrial design. Industrial design is the shape of the bottle. If you see closely, the bottom is a bit fatter than the top, and that is also mimicking a palm oil fruit. The shape, the bottom is very similar to a palm oil fruit, the design that is protected by industrial design rights. So why is it that one product can have multiple rights? The rationale is that if someone wants to copy, I have all the MOs to shoot them down. Whether they copy my brand, I can take them apart. They copy my technology, I can take them apart. They copy my design. So can you say you're building a fence and making it very strong for someone not to enter the market, for you to be there as the market leader? And you can see this. So take this, apply it to your business, look at your business. What intellectual property rights you have? You spend all that money on digital marketing, you spend all that money on social media engagement. What are you promoting? Most of the time, you're promoting a brand, you're promoting a tagline, you're promoting a feature of your product. If you're in the cosmetic industry, you're promoting the shape of the product or how amazing the product is. So you're looking at your unique selling point. What is it that I can actually own and give a personality to and promote? And this is mine. Okay, let's look at the training industry. We get a lot of calls from training industries. A lot of trainers out there sometimes stuck. They don't know how people are coming, learning what I train, and then they go out and they start their own training company or they start doing their own services. And they're like, Geeta, what can I do? How can I protect it? So look at the bigger names out there in the training industry. Let's look at Tony Robbins. Let's look at Franklin Covey. Tony Robbins has various programs called Date with Destiny, Unleash the Power Within. All of that are brands. I might attend one of his courses, learn everything, and go out there and market. Come to Geeta Kandia's motivational talk, and I can help you grow your business and whatever not, right? Will people come? Wouldn't they want Tony Robbins? Wouldn't they want the Unleash the Power Within, the Date with Destiny? Can you see? They are very aware of their intellectual property rights, and they promote it all the time. So Sham, for example, Sham runs, you'll probably know Sham already. If not, say hi to Sham. So Sham runs Sunshine Kids, right? And he's a growing business in the educational industry. So it's the same thing. If someone comes, I want Sunshine Kids to be my kindergarten, or I want Sunshine Kids as a franchise, right? So Miss Nara runs Pingu English and Pingu Kindergarten. Similar, y'all are creating a name and a brand. So in that brand, if you all break it down to other programs, you'll be creating more personality. And this is why when someone copycat come, it's not so easy to copy because these brands are already known, right? I was talking to another client in this field also. We were talking about Kumon. Why is it that Kumon, the name, people look at Kumon and they want to send their kids to Kumon? Because it's the brand, it pops out everywhere, and it's got that reputation. Whereas if a copycat comes along and copies the same syllabus, Kumon is repeat, is rote learning again and again, the same math so that you gets into your head. So you can actually copy the concept. But will you get your customers? No, because Kumon's the brand. So that's how it's, no matter what we do, there is intellectual property rights. How you maximize it is important. So like Tony Robbins maximizing that you unleash the power within. And you see, Tony Robbins doesn't just talk about one brand. He always breaks it down to different programs, different brands. I always say it's giving a personality to a business. So intellectual property, why is it important? Now you know what intellectual property is. Nivas was saying, right, the 5 W's and 1 H, which is amazing. I love that you give that basis before entering into a webinar. So let's look at the whys. Why is intellectual property important? You know, what is intellectual property? Well, why? Intellectual property is like kryptonite. It weakens your super competitors. The more intellectual property rights you have, the stronger you get. It's very difficult for your competitors to come about and break a market share that you already have. Another thing is everyone will ask also, why do I need to incur the cost now? Why don't I do it later when I'm more famous? That's the riskiest part, because intellectual property is like insurance. By the time you need it and you desperately need it, it might be too late. And this we speak from experience, because we've had situations where Indonesia, for example, is first to file compared to first to use. Meaning the trademark law recognizes that the person that files the trademark first has better rights than the person that uses the trademark first. So when someone files the trademark in Indonesia, we have to go to court to cancel the trademark, and it ends up being 60 to 80,000 ringgit. And all because the person went to the trademark office first. So that's a huge problem for a lot of our clients. The countries that practice first to file are like Indonesia, Vietnam, China, Thailand. So this is very risky. So it's kind of like this. IP is like insurance. You get protection, so when you suddenly need it, you have it. When there's copycats, you can take action against them. When you actually need to have those rights for licensing, for selling those rights, you build a business and you want to sell the business, no purchaser will think about buying it if you don't have it protected, because they're like, this brand could easily be destroyed by someone else if you don't have it protected. So all of this is actually really important. That's why it's like insurance, get protection. So when you suddenly need it, you actually have it. And this is another strategy. You know how we are all sometimes trading in the red ocean market. Our business, is it really unique? Are there other service providers out there? Then of course, there is difference in delivery of service, quality of service, all of that. But in terms of whether are we a commodity, a lot of businesses today are commodities. So intellectual property assets actually differentiates your business from other businesses. So it gets you to the blue ocean. Something about you that's different, that's unique. That's what intellectual property rights does. But only when you have monopolistic rights. Yeah. Monopolistic rights is where you get protection and you have this 20 years or trademark 10 years. Every 10 years you renew. Copyright is 50 years plus the debt of the owner, and design is 25 years. Now, how do you monetize these rights? These are the strategies that you can make money from intellectual property rights. Premium pricing. See, if let's say Apple, for instance, Apple was not the creator of MP3 players. Apple was not the creator of tablets. So can you imagine, if they are not the creator, how come they entered? They had market share. They, of course, worked on their user friendliness of the products and the design of the products. They had a brand and that design. Remember the iPod, when you have the swirl, when it was first introduced? Then you have the iPad, the unique design with one button, the home button, and everyone brings you that. That was all really unique. Of course, there's patents as well. You can see there's patents, there's trademarks, and there's design rights. And because they had all of this, all this MO, different type of intellectual property rights, they could price themselves at a higher level compared to other MP3 players. They could price themselves at a higher level compared to other tablet players, and they could price themselves at a higher level compared to other phone manufacturers. So can you see how they use the premium pricing because they had intellectual property rights? Then let's look at licensing. Licensing is where you have all these brands and you allow a third party to use your brand by paying you a certain amount of money. This is where when you build a brand, but you're not interested in venturing into a different target market, that is when you can do licensing. Okay, let's say, for example, let's say Indian restaurants, Sri Pandi in PJ, or Lotus Group has many restaurants. So let's say Lotus, the owner was approached, and another businessman approaches Lotus and say that your brand is actually well known in Malaysian market. Can I manufacture sauces and food products and use your brand? Lotus might not be interested in that segment of business, because it does, and you all know this, it takes a whole process of setting up a manufacturing plant, checking quality and all of that. And they'd be like, no, let someone else do this, and I'll just get money from the licensing fees of the brand Lotus. And you can suddenly find Lotus sauces and food products in Giant, in Carrefour or Tesco, and all of those, right? Can you see? But they'll get some fees, licensing fees, because it's my brand. So the more you build your brand, you'll get more of these opportunities. Either it'll come knocking on your door. I'll show you. I'll talk about an example later when another client of ours had someone knocking on their door. Or you can go knocking on other people's doors, because there's always an opportunity when you have something that is yours, right? All right. So then we look at franchising. Franchising is a type of right where it incorporates intellectual property rights. So let's look at Sham. I'm going to talk about you again. So we're looking at Sunshine Kids. Sunshine Kids will have their training material. Sunshine Kids has their brand, Sunshine Kids. Sunshine Kids might have their methodology and other brands in their entire business. Franchising is allowing a third party to use their brand, to use their training material, which is copyrighted, because copyright protects literary work and artistic work, to use all of those intellectual property rights and replicate it. That means you do the same business, A to Z, of running Sham's first outlet, you replicate it in different parts of Malaysia. That's franchising. So they all have intellectual property rights, but they also have the SOP, A to Z of running a business and so on. So let's look at Miss Nawar. Guys, I'm talking about you because I know you and I know your businesses. So she runs Pingu English, right? So similar to that, she's taken up a franchise from UK and running it in Malaysia. She's the master franchise in Malaysia. So she then gets sub-franchisees to come on and pay her a certain amount. And then she regulates it. She trains them on how to run the business A to Z. She teaches them on how to price the modules. She trains them on how to teach. She trains the teachers. So she's teaching them how to replicate her business, which it's not her intellectual property rights, it's intellectual property rights stemming from the UK. And that's how they earn the money. They charge her a franchise fee. So, but she also earns because she then sub-franchises it to others. So can you see how it's all to do with intellectual property rights? So that's why I'm passionate about intellectual property rights. Of course, the other parts of businesses play a part. You know, you need a business plan, you need your strategies, you need your marketing plan, you need your 3-year goal, your 10-year goal, and all of that. But look at it. Without your intellectual property rights, what are you even doing? You are making money from intellectual property rights, and that's where you can grow, right? So this is how important intellectual property rights are. Intellectual property rights as cross-licensing and assignment. Cross-licensing is where, okay, let's take Ms. Nawar again. She's got Pingu licenses. Let's say she wants to open a kindergarten where she wants BM to come in as well. She ends up getting into a collaboration with a third party, and the third party says that, okay, I will license you my BM franchise. I've created a whole module and I've got a brand, and the brand's quite well known. And you let me license your Pingu English. So that's a cross-licensing. Both parties are licensing each other, the brand and the materials. And now they run kindergartens with English and BM. So that's an example of a cross-license. That also happens a lot in the technology field, where a lot of telco companies, so you'll see sometimes, hey, how come Apple's technology is also in Samsung? How come it's also in LG? Usually it's because there's a cross-license between parties and they'll negotiate this cross-license. Assignment is where you sell the intellectual property rights. Kind of, okay, for example, you all know Jimmy Choo, right? Jimmy Choo built that brand with Tamara Mellon in the UK. And then he assigned his rights. He didn't just sell his shares, he also sold his rights to the trademark. So that's the assignment of intellectual property rights, the selling of shares, selling of IP rights. So there's a bit of overview on how do you monetize, intellectual property rights. Why is it important? Back on the one of the 5 W's, it is a way to elevate your brand presence. Okay, the example you have in front of you is just a catalog. It's a Mary Kay catalog. All the females tuning in will listen to this, will know this, but Mary Kay is a cosmetic product. And I think they go through an MLM structure. But can you see how Mary Kay has the R in just their catalog? This is a table of contents. Why does the table of contents have R with a circle around it? Anyone can tell me? Let's make it interactive here. So just use the chat box. There's no reason or no answer that is silly. Rights reserve. Okay, so KLSICCI says right reserve. Nice one. Anyone else? Why do you think? Why are they even putting it on their contents? No answer is a silly answer, right? I'm very curious to hear what you're thinking. Registered trademark. Yeah, so you're looking at it being a registered trademark. R with a circle around is a registered trademark. Good answer. To alert everyone, don't want others to copy, like a notice. All good answers, all correct also. It also, if you notice, if you and I go to any store and you can't decide between what to buy, let's say it's cosmetics, you can't decide what to buy and you don't know both brands, but you then pick up one and one packaging has the R around it, another one does not. What do you think? Which will you buy? Which influences your decision? The one with the R. But why? Why would you say that? Everyone is saying that. Everyone's saying the one with the R. So it's a human perception, right? That this brand could be very new in the marketplace. But the human perception is the owner himself believes in the brand that they've gone and registered it. That brand must be around for a long time because people don't know sometimes what that R means, no? Must be around for such a long time. My God, they've registered it. They've got secure rights to it. So the brain actually plays you. There's a human perception that that's a better product. That's a stronger brand. So it's a better, that's what you get. And that's why, can you see how people are using it? This is American company. The Americans are more aware of intellectual property rights. So what can you take back from this? If you are using your brand on your website, on your marketing material, on your Instagram site. Hey, actually Instagram, I don't know whether you can do it. Instagram might not be so easy to put the R. But can you see anywhere you use it? Because you value your brand. You treat your brand the way Tony Robbins named his conferences. I was shocked when I saw Date with Destiny, and then people talk about it. Date with Destiny is one of his signature programs. Unleash the Power Within, he calls it UPW, is one of the signature programs. So you must be the first person to value your own brand before you get the whole world to value your brand. All right. Then this is another example I want to share with you all. Yeah, this is our sorry, move too fast. This is our client, and trying to move the okay. This is our client, and they came to us as soon as they designed a specific mask, and it was a special design. And our client asked us, it's Empro, so Empro is also their trademark, and this company actually does cosmetic products, but they pivoted into the mask industry when the pandemic hit. And they came to us say that I've designed it in a specific way. He's done it in a specific way. It doesn't touch your lips, so the girls don't have lipsticks on their mask and so on. And then we went and registered the industrial design. The shape was registered as a design. So he took it one step further to like, I've registered it as design. Now I'm going to promote to the whole world that I've got a registered design. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think that he has now in his marketing material, he's putting his industrial design registration number? It hasn't been registered yet. It's pending because it takes about 8 months to 1.5 years to get it registered. Anyone? Any idea why would you do that? Why is there an industrial design number here? What does it do for you? If you are going to buy a mask, what does industrial design number do for you in your purchasing habits and purchasing behavior? Anyone? Any guesses? add more value to the product. Thanks, Arnie. Yeah, so when you are differentiating one product to another product, you tend to think something was right, something he's put R&D, he's put research and development costs into this product. It might be a better mask, it might be a better product. So that's where you go. Intellectual property rights plays all these key roles as well, yeah? Any of you recognize this one? Who is the company behind this? Any guesses? So Sarwani is from Thailand, so she might not have the guess on who is the company behind this. Actually, unless they're exporting it to Thailand, and they might be exporting it to Thailand. So as you all know, someone correctly guessed, Enrico. So Ms. Naramani guessed it. Enrico values his brand to a very high level. We protected the trademarks, Enrico's. And everywhere you see it, there'll be an R, and he always puts the brand in any advertisement that he produces. Right? If you all know Mr. Sundram, the man behind this very famous brand, he values his intellectual property rights so much. So where he diversifies his products because the brand is so strong. So that's an example. Those are examples of intellectual property rights. So let's move on. Now you know that. You can see how you can make money from intellectual property rights. Should you now buy technology or brands at times like this? It's the pandemic. Doesn't that mean that when there's a crisis, there's opportunity? Yes. So yes, there definitely is an opportunity. Why is now a good time? This is why. How many of you are looking at property to buy? You're looking at probably opening new outlets, new franchises. I hear this from clients a lot during this crisis because there is a better negotiation power. Companies are desperate to let go. Companies are desperate to let go of spaces, let go of assets, and so on. So transactions are more attractive. Of course, the companies that have more liquidity are at a better bargaining power. So there are opportunities to get companies that might have good brands, but they just can't survive in this downturn. So if you're in the education industry, looking at education companies, or even looking at complementary industries to education, that's how you build your portfolio of businesses. What are the benefits? So let's start with the benefits of buying technology, all right? Let's look at technology first. So your research and development cost is minimalized. Anyone in the patent field or looking at technology knows that there's a lot of time and money spent in R&D. Things are not immediately invented. There's a lot of research and development gone and testing gone into a product. Whether you're on a construction line or a different industry, there's a lot of R&D time. So your time and cost is reduced when you look at acquiring another third party's technology, and you can pivot very quickly. So we had a client who was in the fashion industry and then pivoted very quickly into the sanitizing industry. So in her end, she created a new brand and started OEM and affixed her brand on the OEM products. But where you want to pivot, and sometimes you're unable to pivot, getting another brand that's already established, but the business is not doing well, is a way that you can pivot and diversify. So yeah, you can diversify your offerings to your customers, and you put you one step ahead in the game, because you're also then looking at different angles. When you diversify, looking at hedging your losses, so you expedite business recovery. What factors can you consider when buying technology? Well, the business and commercial objectives. So what technology should you buy? So you're looking in your industry. So going back to the education industry, for example, we had a client who was starting to look at getting rights to a specific technology in the education line. One of those, the whiteboards where when you write on the whiteboard, straight away you can print out what you write. They wanted exclusive rights to Southeast Asia during the pandemic, because they know that these are the time you negotiate, because after that, when you get out of the pandemic, things will be back to normal. Schools will start again. So negotiate when the other party is suffering to get better deals. So you need to see what areas in your industry that you need technology, or you can supplement it with technology, and why do you want it? How will you use it to improve your product range? How will you use it to improve your manufacturing line if you're in the manufacturing industry? So there's many things. Better machinery, for cutting costs, for reproducing production time, reducing production time. Of course, this takes research. So very, very important that it takes research to actually look at what needs to be done, looks at what can be done, but there are things out there, technology out there. So will it help to introduce a new product into your existing product range? So could not just be technology, it could be actually bringing in new product itself. So those are the commercial reasons on what to look at when you're looking at technology acquisition. Then to go into legal checklist is very important when you're looking at all that. If you do identify what technology you want to get, you consider whether technology is patented or not. Is it patented, meaning is it protected? Because if it's not protected, why do you need to pay to get it into the country, right? Because if it's not protected, you can copy it. That's the whole thing about intellectual property rights. If it's not protected, you can copy. And legally, they can't sue you. The scope of patent rights is very important to look at price, countries to which the rights of the patent is given, duration of the patent remaining, and improvements, whether it's been patented. I went to a discussion with a client who was looking at getting a software and rights to a software in Malaysia. And the software originates from a different country, and they were in negotiation process, And in the negotiation process, we found out that this product has actually been patented in Singapore, but it hasn't been patented in Malaysia yet. So what are we even talking about? Why are we paying any fees when you can actually get a software developer to reproduce this software and possibly reproduce it to Malaysia? Don't copy the source code, but copy the function. So the fact that you can do that means that why are you paying money to the Singaporean creator or business owner? So it's very important to know the scope of the patent. You might be paying a fee that you need not pay. Or if you're paying, make sure what are you paying for. Yeah, so important to find out what's the duration of the patent remaining. Remember, I said 20 years is the lifetime. If you start looking at negotiating and buying a technology at 15 years into the protection, you only have 5 years to commercially exploit this patent. And then improvements, whether the improvements to the product have been patented. Also, who is the true and legal owner? Sometimes when the technology is patented, it might be under a different company's name and you are negotiating with the wrong company, another person in the subsidiary or in the chain, but it's not the real company who owns the patent. So that needs to be identified too. So these are the legal part of it. When you get to that stage, when you look at acquiring. In the other hand, if the technology has not been patented, then you can acquire the know-how to manufacturing the product, and that is another type of intellectual property rights. Not so much patent, but you can get the know-how on how to actually execute this technology. So the technology itself not protected, but might be deploying a technology still is secretive, it's still kept as a trade secret and confidential. Then you can get the know-how, and that is done through agreements. Okay, sometimes acquiring a technology might not be what you want, or it might be too costly. Then you're looking at maybe getting a patent license. Yeah, patent. So that example, for example, is getting the exclusive license to create that whiteboards where you write on the whiteboards and you print out the material. So this will be a patent license. Then you have a production house or manufacturing line in Malaysia. So that's example where you license it. You don't own it, but you license it from them. So again, there's a certain scope to look at. Very important when you're obtaining the license, the patent license. Also look at the scope. Look at exclusivity. What are you getting? Are you the exclusive patent licensee? Duration of the license. How long the license is for, license fee and royalty payment to be considered in product improvements. This is also, if you're running a franchise, similar things to look at. Because when you're giving a franchise, you're looking at what scope. Do I give them exclusivity in just one area? Do I give them exclusivity in KL? Or is KL too big? Should I divide it? These are similar considerations. Now, what other factors do you need to consider when buying technology? Can you use the technology? Okay, that's the other thing about patent rights. When you get technology, it doesn't mean that you can use it, because you might be trespassing on other people's rights. So it gets tricky. Sometimes we need to do a freedom to operate search and opinion, where we identify, if you put this product into the marketplace, if you put this patented technology in the marketplace, are you stepping on other people's feet? Is this technology trespassing other people's rights. So that's a freedom to operate. We do that for clients as well. So Topat, you have a question. So let me just see if I can address it now. Hang on. So your question is, if I update an act, Industrial Relations Act, recent amendments passed by the Parliament, do I need to get permission? Or am I infringing any copyright if I publish the updated act? Oh, this is very interesting. This is a recent amendments passed by Parliament. Okay. Updating the rule of thumb for copyright. So you are talking about copyright. Hang on, very interesting how your topic does not relate to this, but let me quickly address it. Copyright, the rule of thumb for all of you or business owners, if you create anything, written work and artistic work, you are the owner of that work. That's the rule of thumb. Creator owns the rights. And if you have an employee, you own the rights, but the right transfers to the employer. If you commission the work, let's say I asked another company to produce IP articles for KASS, and then I pay them. So it's commission, right? I commission them to create these articles. The right, even though they own it first, transfers to us because I had commissioned the work. That's in the law, in Copyright Act. So back to your question, who owns the act? It's going to be the government because they came up with the bill and they published it, right? So when they published it, it's their rights. The copyright belongs to them. But then again, these are information for public. So you amending it and publishing it online, in theory, is that your work to begin with? No, right? So you're touching someone else's work. You're amending someone else's work. So in theory, it is and publishing it again, so reproducing it, that means you are infringing copyright not belonging to you. So yes, you are infringing. Whether or not the government does anything would be a whole other subject matter because it's such a small thing for you to update it and publish it online. Where they will do something about it and they'll probably get their legal team after you is when you amend the act and start publishing books with the act, right? That copyright would be with the government. But even then, we haven't seen any cases that where the government takes an issue with someone publishing the act or bill of parliament, and there's a lot of publishing houses around. So they might have got permission from the government, and it also might be under fair use. Fair use is where it's information for the public. It's information, it's kind of like news that should be allowed for the public to know. Okay, let's move on, yeah? So remember one thing is that patent, going back to technology, does not give you the right to manufacture or sell your product, but it grants you the right to prevent others. So that's why when I talked about it as a fence and an ammo. You building a fence around your business, whether it's the technology or the brand and so on, you're preventing others from using your technology. But it does not give you the right to manufacture and put it out there in the place. When you manufacture and put it out there in the market, you might still be trespassing other people's rights. That's why a freedom to operate search is done usually by bigger companies. They're worried about getting the legal suit and tarnishing their name. So I talk about all this tech. Where do you look for tech then, right? So there are 30 plus marketplaces. And if you are very, very focused on diversifying using this strategy, there'll be places that you start researching what is being used in other countries. Have they protected it in Malaysia? If they haven't protected it in Malaysia, I can use it for free. If they have protected it in Malaysia, I can license it from them. I can buy it from them. It being the patent, right? That gives you the right to then reproduce. So it opens up your eyes to what's the possibility out there. You don't have to always be creating your own intellectual property rights. So we talked about technology acquisition. Let's look at brand acquisition during the COVID times, right? Benefits of buying brands. Oh, you all know you're building all your brands. No, Sham, you're building your Sunshine Kids, and I know Miss Nawar, your daughters also have a speech therapist. She will have a brand for that. So you all are building the brand that you are in the businesses that you're running, and time is invested in building the brand. All this, when you buy a brand, you save the time. Someone else has built it. Businesses can pivot very quickly. That's why very often, right, you hear about Unilever and P&G buying brands. Of course, they're talking about multi-millions at that level, right? But times are difficult. A lot of businesses try to exit. They try to sell whatever they can. We once helped a Malay restaurant sell their brand to Star Hill, to YTL, and that whole brand purchase gave the client injection of capital into the second business that she entered. So you can see, right, how you can exit your business also by selling the brand or buying the brand. So you can substantiate or diversify your offerings to your customers. It puts you ahead of the game and expedites business recovery also. What factors to consider when buying technology? Let's look at business and commercial objectives again. Is the brand to be used for its existing range of products it currently manufactures or distributes? Are you going to use it for the same products? Or are you going to introduce a new product or range? Then you're looking at, okay, a trademark acquires great value, right? But based on the goodwill and reputation it has in the marketplace, are you buying a brand that's unknown in the industry, or are you buying a brand that's known in the industry? If it's known, how widely is it known? So that will depend on what you're willing to pay, the monetary value. Then if the brand is acquired to introduce a new product, does the acquiring company have the know-how or technology to execute the manufacturing of that product? So buying the brand is important, but do you even know how to manufacture the product behind the brand? That's also something to consider. Do you have a distribution channel? Usually you do, and that's why you buy the brand, but you have to ask all these questions, yeah? So these are example of house brands: P&G, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, Nestle, L'Oreal. These companies are house brands. Any products that they launch are called product brands. The reason it is a differentiation is house brands are trusted more than product brands. Product brands usually are new brands you're putting in the marketplace. So if you suddenly ask any female to try a new shampoo, all of us will get skeptical. We'll get skeptical because it's going to affect our scalp, it's going to affect our skin, we might affect your hair growth or hair loss. All of that scares any female, right? So you can see not just females, I guess males as well. But you can see how anything to do with skincare and consumption, we get worried because it affects us. So we are not experimentative in that area. So big brands always win compared to small brands. So big brands will say another product by P&G, another product by Unilever. And we trust that brand. We trust the bigger brand because it's been around the marketplace. We know that they will have a lot to lose if they tarnish the brand. So that's where the house brand pushes out the smaller brands or the product brands by the goodwill and reputation the house brand has. But these example here is meant to show you that not all are created by them. They enter markets and they look for brands to purchase, to grow their portfolio, to inject in their systems and their way of running the business that will be guaranteed success for the bottom line. Yeah, so why are we not thinking like them in terms of acquisition if it's relevant to your business or you want to diversify? So an example of a brand acquisition happened in the recession in 2001, where Smuckers acquired Jif and Crisco brands from P&G, Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble was disposing that business unit and brand because they were a small business and not in any of its core categories. So bigger companies always look at auditing their businesses and dispose the ones that they feel takes up too much energy, not bringing enough returns. But for Smuckers, the company Smuckers, they've proved to be a good strategic fit. In fact, 2008, 2009 recession, Smuckers acquired another brand from P&G. So they see it worked in 2001 and they did it again in 2008, 2009. Can you see how they did it? Recession then and recession again 7, 8 years later. Because the negotiation power is higher. And the companies, P&G also will have its own cash flow issues, own overheads, and its own reason to then trim down the business. So what do you need to ask when you're looking at recession? Smuckers acquired another brand from P&G. So they see it worked in 2001 and they did it again in 2008, 2009. Can you see how they did it? Recession then and it's so interesting hearing my voice. Hi again, everyone. All right, so what must you do What questions must you ask if you're looking at this strategy? Then you look at due diligence questions that has the mark been registered. Of course, do not buy a brand where you have to risk that the mark is not registered. The number of franchisees that come to us and want to take action against the franchisors, and then we end up looking at the agreements, and the agreements are not registered with the franchise registry in Putrajaya, and that goes like that's against the law, and a lot of problems come up from that, So has it been registered? Have you got the legal protection for it? If so, for which range of goods, what range of services, in which countries? Are there any third-party claims against the trademark? Has there been licenses given out? These are important questions. And after acquiring the mark, then you have to look at putting the documents into place to get that product, that trademark in your name. Right? So similar to the patent license, if acquisition is not an option, maybe licensing the brand. Instead of buying the brand, you can license the brand. So this is an example where this is many years ago actually. Our client is in the menswear industry and quite famous in the menswear industry, local company, local brand. And an entrepreneur approaches him and knocks on his door and says that, okay, your brand is quite well known for menswear. I would like to use your brand for ancillary products. For accessories, for example, I would like to use for accessories, tie pins, shoes, men bag, and so on, but not clothes, not foods. And our client came to us and said, what should I do? Like, do I allow this? What do I do? Do I get into an agreement? And I had a lot of course, burning questions in relation to how do I control sales? How do I control quality? All of that. The main question was, are you open to diversifying your brand, like diversifying your product range? And the client was like, if I can make money, why not? Which is a damn good entrepreneur, right? So yes, we sat down with him and we planned this whole thing out where in your long-term plan, in your 5-year strategy, in your 10-year strategy, you don't plan to enter into this market, then yes, let someone else enter into the market. Kind of like my sauce example, right? The sauce example, Lotus Group example where the sauces are made and they use the Lotus brand. Similar to that, this was in the menswear industry where the brand was then used for other products not related to menswear but targeting the same group of people, which is men in the Malaysian market. And they charge a fee, a license fee. Of course, we put in a lot of restrictions in terms of quality must be good because you don't want quality manufactured by someone else and you are not in charge of that factory and you're not in charge of quality control, that poor quality products are produced under your name. So then that totally is disastrous because you then tarnish your brand. So all of that must be put into an agreement. There must be audit, there must be regular audit and all of that. But a good licensing agreement will have all of that. Yeah, so that's an example. So very important also, if the trademark is not known in the country, should you even take that brand? So this is very important when you're looking at franchising a business. If your brand is not known in Penang, would people want to take it? If your brand is not known in another part of the world, in Indonesia or Thailand, would people want to take a franchise? So you have to always keep that in mind when you're building your brand. The more known your brand is, the easier you get people, distributors, and franchisees. Yeah, so where the brand is not known, keep that in mind because there's not much value if a trademark to be acquired has no goodwill or reputation in Malaysia. This is a debate, because I've had discussions with clients where even though the brand's not known, they want to bring the brand into Malaysia because the entire standard operating procedure is taught to you, right? And you bring it in, I don't know how to run this business. They're going to teach me how to run the business. So then it makes sense. So even though the brand's not known, but yeah, if you're going to learn A to Z, it's a very reputable company, then yes, because you're going to be executing whatever product or service in a very high level where you attract customers. So, and then you can build the brand. But do remember, when you build the brand, you are building someone else's brand. It's not your brand. Yeah. So you want to be on the other end where it's your brand that others are building. I always talk about this to franchisors. When you build your brand and start franchising, your franchisees are building your brand, which is great. That's how look at the top players in the F&B field, right? You're looking at McDonald's, Starbucks, and so on. Whose brand are the franchisees building? You're building the brand for the franchisor. So that's one of the IP strategies during the COVID time, That's why I say happy shopping entrepreneurs, being more alert of everything around you. Yeah. The other thing that's very important, and this is for those who already have a trademark portfolio or a patent portfolio. Some clients actually contacted us about this. Okay, COVID has hit and I have a large portfolio. What should I do? So these are some tips. Everyone is tightening their budgets. So our tips is all on that. Actually, look at your intellectual property portfolio management. You look at what IP have you protected, what countries have you protected in, what renewals or annuities are due. I said earlier, patents last 20 years. They're 20 years every year. You need to renew your patent, their technology, and in all countries. So it can be very costly, but it depends on where you being maximizing it, where's money coming in from. So we'll sit down and do this. It's basically an audit. What are the upcoming costs in the whole process, in your patent process, in your trademark process? What's the upcoming cost? Then we look at, okay, what's your current business? Where's your revenue, money coming in from? Are you planning to pivot? Are you planning to diversify? Are there new products and services that you're offering that you're not registered? Kind of like the example I gave you earlier, that our client in the fashion industry put her fashion industry on hold, or slowed it down because the retail market was dead when MCO was introduced, and then started producing cleaning products, and even on a completely different brand. So then we had to look at, okay, how do we then register and protect you in that field? What agreements do you need in that area? And then are there current registrations that may not be necessary? So in this example again, are you going to go back in the fashion industry? You might not need to continue just keeping that brand. Are you going to go back to whatever industry you're in? So that's how you can actually look at your portfolios, trademark and patent portfolios. Another one is your technology obsolete? Would you even need it? But the thing about patent protecting technology is it's very time sensitive. You can't register it today, have the protection, and then choose not to renew it, don't pay the annuity fee. And 5 years later say, oh, no, now business is back to normal. I want it now, and I go and register it again. Once you let go, you've let go. It's abandoned or it's lapsed. So that is as if you're donating the technology to public. So even though you're trimming and keeping costs low, very important not to make rash decisions. Look long term. So you're looking at, would I need a technology later? When the market's better, when things are improved? Then just continue paying your annuity fees. And in trademarks, I spoke about this earlier. Know which is the countries that are first to use, which are the countries that are first to file. So losing the trademark registration may be dangerous in countries that are first to file. Okay. So that actually comes to the end. I know Niwas is saying that let's leave a lot of time for Q&A. I'm very, very happy to attend to your Q&A. Just the last one is for those of you who took time out of your precious schedule to be with us today, we're going to give a free identical trademark search for any ASEAN country. We'll check whether your brand is being used in any ASEAN country. If you're keen, take down the number and the email address and contact us. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop share. And back to you, Niwas, to see if there's any questions. I don't know whether Niwas is there, but okay, let's open it to all of you. Okay, thanks, Niwas.
Thank you very much for the very much informative and knowledgeful information. I think it's a real crash course for newbies on IP. I think a lot of us here are quite new to this, even though we have heard what is IP, but I think you just ran through a very good kind of brief modules on the areas that we should be looking into. And I believe there are a lot of questions that has actually came in. Q&A, I mean, there's a lot of questions. I'll just read through one first. The first one is from from Miss Tohpad. If I update an act, example, Industrial Relation Act 1967, with the recent amendments passed by the Parliament, do I need to get permission or am I infringing any copyright if I publish the updated act? Ms. Topat, are you there? Topat.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
I addressed the question just now, but
Yeah, it's already answered.
do you have
Okay.
any questions from that answer?
I guess my concern is because the act, as you said, it belongs to the government of Malaysia. You know, I do not know whether I'm sure you being you're in this line. International law books also they publish acts, is it?
Yeah.
So but recently the government amended the Industrial Relations Act. So I'm a HR practitioner, so I took all the amendments, put it into and updated the act. I was thinking of sharing it out in the social media for free, but I'm worried that ILDS or the government might come after me for infringing copyrights. So I was thinking, better be careful before I publish it and post it on the net.
It's a very good question, you know. You actually made me think really hard there because there are government engaged publishers. So because there are government engaged publishers, these publishers will have the right to publish it and they must have got the license from the government. So for that reason, I feel there is a risk. I can actually do more research and find out because this is a very good question. But I feel there's a risk because why aren't there other publishers? Even for us, when we buy the Act, Trademark Act, Franchise Act, it's always one specific. I think it's Dewan Bahasa and Pustaka, if I'm not mistaken, but one specific publisher. There are no alternatives. And if that's the case, then it is they have the rights. So there is a risk. I would say there is a risk, Topak. But if you drop down your email address on the chat group, let me do more research and get back to you.
Sure, thanks.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Geeta. I think the next one is in Malaysia, licensing is best or franchising? Did you address that earlier?
No, I haven't. Is that a comment? Hang on, I thought it was a comment, but is licensing is best or franchising? Yeah, actually, Shams had the question. Okay, so all franchising encompasses licensing. Licensing is just the usage of the intellectual property rights. Franchising is using the intellectual property rights and everything else in the business. How do I run my business? What uniform should everyone use? What time should everyone come in? What is the billing structure like? Can you see? It's everything about a business, including the license of the intellectual property rights. So you're looking at the franchises have licenses, but not all licenses are a franchise. It's very different. License is giving rights to use the intellectual property rights. So Sham, your question is licensing better or franchising is better? Depending on the industry. The example I gave you earlier about the menswear, where a party comes knocking and start asking for using it for something else, that's a clear licensing. I use your brand on different products, right? Whereas businesses like hair salon, restaurants, education companies, it's not just giving the rights to use the brand, it's telling them how to run the business. That is a franchise.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay.
Thanks for your question.
Do we have any other questions from our participants here today?
Hi, Geeta.
Hi, Ms. Nawar.
Yeah, okay. I have a question. You said earlier when you started, if let's say after 20 years they open it, right? So if let's say I have patented my kindergarten name 20 years ago, does that mean other people can use the name after 20 years?
Very good question. So patents are for technology, trademarks are for brands. So the good thing about trademarks is every 10 years you get to renew your brand. That means you can own it for life. As long as you renew every 10 years, and that's why KFC and Coca-Cola, they are 100-year-old companies, you know, and they still own their brand. So as long as every 10 years you keep track and you renew it, that is your brand, and that's what you can also pass on to the subsequent generations. So this is where Genting still has a brand, and that it's all still within their rights. Whereas technology is different. Technology, so for example, the phone, that's why you'll see there is always improvement. If the owner of technology has rights like brands, they won't improve it because for 20 years I can limit people from using that technology. Sorry, for life I can limit people from using this technology. The reason there's improvements is there's another company that then researches on the existing technology and improves it and they will secure patent rights for the improvement.
Mhm.
But the 20 years doesn't apply to trademarks.
Okay. So in that case, we just renew and we still own it for life.
Yeah, so that's why the
Okay.
brand building is super beneficial for brands.
Okay. So can you also explain the difference between patent and trademark? Is it the same?
So patent is for technology. The easiest way to understand it, patent is for anything in the way it works. Okay, so for example, this cup, this bottle, I mean, it has grooves here.
Mhm.
If the grooves are put in that way so that my grip does not slip,
Mhm. Yeah.
if the grip does not slip because of the grooves, it functions in a specific way. And
Okay.
that is a function. So function is protected by patent.
Patent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our company has engineers, and they'll explain how this product works. Why is it different from existing technology? And we
Mhm.
protect the function of the grooves. Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas trademark would be the brand that we put on top of the bottle.
All right. All right. Thanks.
Welcome.
Well explained.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Geeta. My another question, in addition to what Dr. Nawa asked, was how do you refer intellectual property? Does it encompass the whole thing?
Yeah, so intellectual property, the one I've talked mostly about is trademarks and patents. Trademark is the brand, the patent is the technology, copyright is the artistic and literary work. So it's an umbrella word for
Umbrella.
all types of intellectual property rights.
Okay, so today we focused on intellectual property, patent, trademark, and also
Yeah,
copyright.
copyright, that's right.
Okay, and next week we have something more specific on trademark, right?
Yeah, so next week we'll be talking about how do you create strong marks. You know, there's a difference between weak trademarks and strong trademarks. So we get a lot of tips, and if you're in business and you're looking at diversifying or buying another brand, you understand how do you actually value a trademark? How do you choose it to make sure that as you build a brand, it's a strong brand that you have.
Okay, and for some business people or entrepreneurs, they may want to know what are the trademarks or what are the patent or brands that are going up for sale. Is there any registrar that is on a legitimate site?
There are a few. So whoever is keen, or we can email KLSICCI. There's a few, it's called IP brokers, intellectual property brokers, that have this. So there are intellectual property rights that are for sale. Then there's a lot of research needed. Is it my field? What is this? How much is it? So can definitely send you links.
So there are such things in the market, right?
Yeah, there is.
So instead of looking for businesses that are running and to take over like a merger or acquisition, so even this branding IP and this IP also has those kind of business potential, right?
Yes, that's right.
For businesses to diversify today, so they can actually acquire brand, not necessarily to do the business, but just to hold the brand as a value proposition to the company's.
So it's interesting. In fact, I think someone asked me a question. Let me see, is it to everyone? Oh, it's very nice. I like it where it's quite it's a good question. So the question is, based on my experience, has there been any assignments done for IP during the pre-revenue stage? Pre-revenue stage means before money is earned. There has been. Okay, so there has been, but that means there is a lot of good technology. So that means the question is, has there been sale of intellectual property rights before the revenue stage, before you even see that you can make money from this? There has been, but there must be a lot of research to show that this has rights and it's exclusive rights and has a big market share to enter into. These are, for example, where venture capitalists and all come in when they see there's a lot of potential in that patent or there's IP in this company or this invention, then they put in the money. So that's similar to, that's an example. But also recently, during this COVID stage, a client of ours was actually a franchisee. The main company that they were paying a franchise fee to was in Korea. In the pandemic, that Korean company went bankrupt and filed for liquidation. And our client took that as an opportunity to start knocking on their doors and say, I'll pay you certain money, you sell that asset. So we ended up liaising with the Korean court, the liquidator in the Korean court, to have that transfer of that Korean IP to our client. So they don't have to pay license fee for the rest of the year, rest of their business years, and they can then have any right to do whatever they want with this IP now in Malaysia. We tried to negotiate for Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia, but we only got Malaysia.
Okay.
So again, it's during the pandemic. So when times are tough, there are people out there that need the cash, and sometimes the assets that they have to dispose are intellectual property assets.
And also, I would like to know, is there any valuation body that actually does valuation on the value of the patent, copyright, or trademark?
IP lawyers do that. So we do that. So there's a specific method. You do cost method, there's market method, and income approach. So 3 ways to do it. And then there's always pros and cons of doing any specific way. And we ourselves will sit down and exercise that whole valuation project.
Okay. Is there any other questions from our participants here today? I believe the vast info provided by Ms. Geeta today has actually added on to our business knowledge in hereafter to embark on new ventures, new avenues to bring our businesses to greater heights. So I think, is there anything? I think Dato Ramanathan, our president, is online. Dato, are you there, Dato? Satish. Dato, are you there? Okay. I think Dato
I think there's one more question.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Nara?
Hi, Geeta. Thank you so much, and Nivas as well. And great session. I had one question regarding this various trademarks and IP, etc. When in the event that we need to take any action, and if we were to embark on a legal action, then where would it be better to do it, in Malaysia or overseas? In a scenario where very often we say that we undertake an agreement with someone, and then in the case of a dispute, typically the legal action is proceeded in the area, in the locality where someone resides. So I wonder where would be better when we word our agreement, where should we say the action should be initiated and carried out?
Ideally, a very good question actually, Mr. Nara. So ideally, it's where you are located, because then you can engage the best lawyers, you can meet your lawyers often, you can strategize. So that's the ideal scenario. But where it's, I find, if it's the franchisor or the principal, your main supplier of the product, usually it's their agreement and they dictate, kind of like who has the bargaining power. Even if we try to negotiate out of that clause where the governing law is, they very often want it to be in their jurisdiction. And it's, again, because it's their benefit, then they have their lawyers. Imagine if we are fighting a case in US governing law and US jurisdiction, then we have to engage an American lawyer, and having conversation and strategizing can become very expensive. And American lawyers, the moment you touch the file, they raise a bill, So that is why we always prefer clients to have it in Malaysia. And sometimes when there's a disagreement or forum for dispute, then Singapore is a good choice, because Singapore is neutral. It's not Malaysia, it's not the other country. And Singapore is a very good arbitration center as well. So we try. Even then, sometimes we it's a negotiating power, right? In the end, even then we ask for Singapore and we don't get the very adamant, say their country, and then we end up signing the agreement with it being the other country.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nara. I hope it enlightens you.
Yes, it did. Thank you. Thank you very much. These sessions have always been wonderful. I want to thank you all for all this organization with great speakers. Thank you.
Okay, is there any more questions from our participants here today? Well, I believe, Ms. Geeta, our program is live on FB now. And normally after it is, the program ends, the views will actually will be like 300-400 within 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
So when there
Very
is
impressive.
questions, then there is comments in our Facebook comment box later. Definitely, we will compile them and come back to you for clarifications. We also will provide your contact details so that they can connect you directly for your professional services. I believe Chamber acts as an avenue to be a gateway to everyone to embark on the intellectual property knowledge, and also adapting it for your business, to safeguard your business and protecting your business, so that you will be competitive in today's digitalized world. And since we are already at the end of the program, I would like to thank our great speaker, Ms. Geeta Kandia, and also KASS International Sdn Bhd for your valuable support and also for your valuable knowledge sharing today. And it is our first step towards a great collaboration to empower the micro businesses, startups, and also the SME community. So I would like to thank everyone who has been here today. And coming up next, just would like to share, coming up next, we would be having our next program just for the general knowledge of our participants. Our next program is on this Thursday, Safeguarding Your Business from Legal Matters, by our well-known lawyer, YB Yang Berhormat Datuk Murugesan from Murugesan Sinandavar and Associates. And also in our next upcoming program next week, we have another program on how to improve your Microsoft Excel skills in your business. Well, these are all the programs that we are conducting. And also those who are interested to be our member, please contact the secretariat. Our details are there. And if you have any inquiries in related to today's program, you can also send us email. We will connect you to Ms. Geeta Kandia. Thank you, Ms. Geeta. Thank you for your valuable support. I think let's give our Vice President, Dr. Nawa, to say a few closing remarks before we end the session. Yes, Doctor.
Oh, you caught me off guard. All right. Geeta, I was present here because this is also a very favorite topic that I'm very close to, because I personally have trademarked my company brand and things like that. And I know how good it is. So basically, yes, your sharing was excellent and a lot of questions were answered. I think our SME owners and all other business owners should know about this trademark, copyright, so that they could excel and make more money rather than just being, like in a small nasi lemak kind of, category. So thank you very much for sharing your expertise. And we look forward to hear more from you in the future. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Geeta. I think thank you, participants who have been here today. We will just take a group photo. Can everybody switch on your camera? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. See you in the next program. Take care.
Thank you.
All
Take
right.
care. Stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Nara. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.